Good afternoon, everyone. This is Paul, and continuing with my RIP Wii U extravaganza to sort of give the Wii U a proper send-off after it's been pronounced officially dead by pretty much everyone. I decided that since my top 5 Wii U soundtracks list was kind of boring without the Nintendo's copyright policies giving me the ability to actually show you some of these amazing songs, I decided, well, best Wii U graphics is probably a lot better because I can at least describe the style, and it's easy enough for me to get a good screenshot or a good thumbnail for these videos, stuff like that. So these are going to be from my personal preference. I know graphics are subjective, so I highly expect there to be tons of disagreements in the comments, but hey, you know what? If you thought Wind Waker looked gorgeous back in the GameCube days, good for you, because I certainly wouldn't have put that anywhere near the top 10 if this were based on GameCube graphics. That's how subjective these opinions are. Anyway, without further ado, since the Wii U didn't have much to choose from anyway, let's get started. First off is, at number 10, we have Paper Mario Color Splash. So, I've always been a huge fan of Paper Mario's graphics. As much as the games have been really divisive over the years, one thing that stayed consistent is that every Paper Mario game looks really, really great. Even the first Paper Mario, to this day, yes, it's a Nintendo 64 title, but it just continues to wows me every time I see it. I love how they masterfully blended 3D and paper to a great extent. Now, as the series went along, they sort of went away from that trend and wanted to go for more paper, less 3D. And that's where Color Splash, I think, nails it more than any other Paper Mario game. I mean, you really get the expression that you're in a paperized environment, from that crazy level that, folds back. Well, everything's backwards here, where it folds back on you and you have to run away, to the magnificent usage of paint, and then the game just totally breaks out in hyper-realism when you get things. Have you seen the animations for the lemon alone? Oh my gosh, you'd think you're inside some kind of cooking simulator, which, now that I think about it, the Wii U kind of really could have benefited from one of those. Yeah, Paper Mario Color Splash may not have been the best Paper Mario game, and I know a lot of people have said it's better than you think, but I can't argue against those graphics. Those are pretty superb. Number 9 is Yoshi's Woolly World. One of the reasons why this is so low on the list is because I've always been a fan of more realistic graphics, and Yoshi's Woolly World is anything but that. However, it does have one of the most unique visual aesthetics to be seen in a very long time, although it can't entirely take the credit because Kirby's Epic Yarn sort of started the framework. But whereas Yoshi's Woolly World took a step forward, and yes, I can make the comparison because Goodfield developed both games, so they can plagiarize their own series if they want. Kirby's Epic Yarn felt like everything was rather flat, but Yoshi's Woolly World delivered a full 2.5D experience where you were in a 3D world that was still side-scrolling. I mean, have you seen the Woolly Yoshi amiibo? In retrospect, now I wish I actually held it in my hand because I actually own it, but yeah, that's how he looks in the game, and that's how they actually did the visual styles, by someone hand knitting everything together to give the designers preps, and I bet they probably just said, heck, let's just photocopy these into the game. Whether or not that's what they did, I don't know. But Yoshi's Woolly World manages to provide not only one of the most unique visual styles on the Wii U, but probably of all the games on this list, the visuals actually complement the gameplay, where the yarn aesthetic allows for some really cool tricks that I won't spoil for you. But if you decided to skip out on the Wii U, which shame on you, by the way, you can still pick up Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World, which is slightly graphically inferior, but not so much to the degree that it loses its original charm. Number 8 is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This was one of those games where it was another one of those about time Nintendo games for me, where they finally decided to animate individual hairs on Donkey Kong's fur. And even though that's not quite as noticeable when you're actually playing the game as opposed to watching a cutscene, but there's no denying that Tropical Freeze is a visual spectacle. And this goes for both the backgrounds and the foreground, which often have several things going on at once. And with the dynamic camera angles, it's even easier to see them than before. I would say that the visual style is perhaps at its finest when you actually get to the levels that have ice in them, which are surprisingly few for a level that is named after ice. But there were quite a few times where I just had to yell into the other room, like, "Nina, whoa, this is so cool!" to my sister. And no, that is not her real name, so sorry, you won't be able to stalk her like that if you're a creep. And yeah, it didn't exactly, like, make me just be totally mind-blown like some of the later items on this list. But it is by far the best-looking Donkey Kong game I have seen yet. And since the Switch port of Tropical Freeze doesn't count, because it seems like yet another lazy remake, it'll be interesting to see if there's a brand new Donkey Kong game that can top this. Especially if it's actually a good 3D one. Number 7 is Splatoon. Now, if people say that the Wii U was not very original, they haven't really played Splatoon. It's one of those games where you would think it would fail because it's a third-person shooter from a company that is not known for their shooters. But yet, Splatoon works. Spraying paint instead of bullets is a surprisingly addictive experience. And it features most of the hallmarks of the FPS genre to begin with. You've got the border around the screen to sort of make up for a health bar. You've got the wonky camera angles. And you've got one of the coolest mechanics I've ever seen in an IP, which is you start out as a kid, and then you turn into a squid to traverse through the paint/ink/whatever it is that they're spitting around. Not to mention it's got a decent, if not undersized, hub world that you can explore. And it's a lot of fun to see where the origin of that yellow spark in Super Mario Odyssey was, where it actually started in Splatoon from inking your way along a power line. So, if you thought that Mario Odyssey was incredible, sorry, but it had a lot of inspiration from other titles. So that alone bumps Splatoon up on the list, but seeing as it's so wacky in its design, I'm ranking it a little bit lower, because like I said, I go for realism over stylism. Next up, number 6, and I'm actually editing my script as I'm doing this to make sure that I'm getting the numbers right, unlike the last time I did a top 10 for the Wii U. Now we have Super Mario 3D World. Yes, I know what most of you are going to say. It had a very minimalized artistic style, and you wish Nintendo would have gone the extra mile for the Wii U. I am not one of those people. When I play Super Mario 3D World, as much as I can't stand that game, and would probably include it as one of the worst Wii U games that I've ever played, I can't deny that it has a phenomenal visual flair. From the lava effects to the water, everything just really screams, we're playing an HD Mario! And while Mario Odyssey may have trumped it in every way, you can't deny that this was a great stepping stone for Mario jumping into the HD generation. And New Super Mario Bros. U doesn't really count because it didn't have that much visual variety, whereas Super Mario 3D World had bustling circuses, amazing snowy levels, rainy levels where the water droplets actually hit the screen, or the gamepad in my case, because eventually I got tired of playing on the TV. And overall, there wasn't a boring looking level in sight, unless you count that kind of lackluster Mario Kart themed level. The only thing I wish would have had a little bit more work done it was the grass, as it's still for the most part flat, and I've been clamoring for games that have flowing grass particles that actually look realistic for a long time. Thankfully, one of the later items on this list mostly succeeds in that regard, so let's keep going. Number 5 is Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. Why is it so low on the list, you say? Because it can't seem to make up its mind when it comes to what kind of graphics it wants. You've got the Duck Hunt stage, which looks like it was basically a more colorful version of an NES game, to the absolutely stunning Orbital Gate Assault, which is based on Star Fox Assault. And oh my goodness, you feel like you're watching the latest Star Wars movie when you're playing it, even if it's one of the worst stages in that game. But when it looks good, it looks really good. The Mario Kart 8 stage in particular was one of the highlights, as was Palutena's Temple, and seeing Smash Bros. In HD was a true joy for me, especially since it came out only a mere month after Super Smash Bros. For 3DS, which I kind of felt was a step down from how amazing Super Smash Bros. Brawl works. Initially, it took a bit of getting used to because the game seemed to favor a more cartoony look as opposed to the hyper-realism of Brawl, especially in the Subspace Emissary. But eventually I got over it, and now looking back on Brawl, I sometimes think, you know what? As great as this game looks, it does look a little rough around the edges in certain textures. And Super Smash Bros. For Wii U rarely, if ever, has that problem. And if you need more convincing, just watch some of those cinematics. Number 4 is Pikmin 3. Oh my gosh, that game really embodies the photorealistic aspect of what the Wii U is capable of. The fruits, the grass particles, the flowers, everything just screamed, oh my goodness. Like, I thought the original Pikmin games looked stunning, but this just blows them out of the water. Now, it didn't quite reach number 1 status because that's mostly the background details, and I like it when an entire game can have, you know, this super immersive, graphically impressive world from start to finish. But there's no denying that Pikmin 3 was a nice step forward from Pikmin 1 and 2, and also a nice reminder of what Pikmin games should look like after Hey Pikmin came out for the 3DS and was a miserable excuse for a sequel. I'm not even a Pikmin fan, and the fact that I can still say that speaks wonders. Anyway, moving on, we got number 3 as Xenoblade Chronicles X. This is the kind of game where it was pretty divisive among the critics, but I think one thing that cannot be denied is that it really pushed for the already stunning for the Wii type of amazingness for its graphics to this game just flat out looks amazing. In fact, even when I compare it to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for the Switch, this game actually had a realistic angle, and while Xenoblade Chronicles 2 may have better worlds, I don't know, I haven't played enough of X. From the previews that I've seen, it's that kind of world where I see it and I just say, whoa, look at the way they animate that grass. Look at the impressive draw distance. Look at these amazing environments. And it's so rendered in beautiful, almost realistic HD that I don't even care if the game has flaws. I just want to play it and explore. And while it may not reach Breath of the Wild levels of hype, because, you know, the lack of being able to climb mountains was certainly a downside, it certainly seems like it could win the award for second best open world game on the Wii U. Not that there's much to choose from, but hey, at least it wasn't a Lego game. Number 2, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. I was really shocked that I ended up liking the visuals of this game as much as I did, especially when I'm still moaning and groaning that we never got that amazingly realistic Zelda tech demo that they showed off before the Wii U came out. But Breath of the Wild still managed to provide to be a spectacular visual treat from start to finish. Now, one could argue that some of the textures get a little bit muddy, and the Wii U version doesn't look as good as the Switch. I beg to differ. You can hardly tell the two apart. The grassy particles in the fields just really embody, like, another one of those about time Nintendo. When you go to Death Mountain, you can really feel the heat zooming in on you. The lava effects are absolutely stunning. And especially the way they portray Ganon. Like, even when you're not facing Ganon, you can see the little pools of malice, which add a nice artistic touch to the game. The way that the sun moves, to the water effects, which may not be the best I've ever seen. That honor probably goes more to Super Mario Sunshine. But you can't deny that it gets the job done really, really well. And then, as if Breath of the Wild can't pump out more amazing graphics, the DLC provides a couple of new experiences to show what type of environmental spatial awareness puzzles they're capable of. Not to mention the game animates really well, and Link is finally back to being almost as expressive as he was in the Wind Waker, which is a nice touch without the game making me want to gag every time I see it, which is definitely a step up. I may be the only one that says that about the Wind Waker, but hey, I'm allowed to have my opinions, right? But number one, and I think pretty much anyone can argue that even if it's for a Mario game, or whether it's flat out gorgeous, Mario Kart 8, hands down, takes the cake for best looking Wii U game. Now, I am not one of those people that says it looks great for a Mario game. I was just like almost blown off my feet for real when I saw this game, and I was like, whoa, that is what the Wii U is capable of? Granted, the charm did wear off a little bit when I saw some, yes, that's right, some of the DLC tracks, especially when I saw SNES Rainbow Road for the umpteenth time. But there wasn't a single chorus in Mario Kart 8 where I didn't go, whoa, to some degree, to how amazing the visuals look. Equally impressive is the fact that if you weren't a Mario Kart veteran and you didn't know the difference between the returning tracks and the new ones, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference because of the amazing HD overhaul that many of these retro classics have received. There are so many great visual touches that I don't even know where to start. But one thing that I think is the most impressive that very few people have pointed out is even the loading screen looks mind-blowing. And how many games can say that of any console generation, besides maybe Skyrim? I don't know. So, yeah, Mario Kart 8's visuals are so timeless that when they ported it over to the Switch, they barely changed the visuals at all, if at all. And so as a result, it's going to give me another excuse to say that 8 Deluxe is one of the laziest ports I've ever seen from Nintendo. And I've played a lot of ports, as I'm about to do for my 2-year anniversary of reviewing video games video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed looking back at some of the Wii U's greatest flashy games. Stay tuned for more Rest in Peace Wii U videos and a couple of more video game reviews to prepare for my 2-year anniversary. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.